When we think of primitive people, we most often imagine a struggle for survival, where the weak are abandoned and the sick go untreated. But archaeology tells a different story. Neanderthals were not soulless hunters. They knew how to care. They were not afraid of weakness. They fed the injured, looked after the sick, and waited until they were back on their feet. And sometimes, they simply did not leave anyone to die alone. What we know about how Neanderthals treated the sick comes not from stories, but from their bones. Archaeologists have found skeletons with severe injuries that had healed. This means the person did not die immediately. He was not abandoned. He was cared for. One of the most famous examples is the skeleton of a man from Shanidar cave in Iraq. He had a broken arm, a damaged eye, and partial paralysis on the right side of his body. He was blind in one eye, moved poorly, and could not hunt. But he lived for decades. Someone fed him, protected him, and kept his place clean. Without help, he would not have survived even a few weeks. Another example is a Neanderthal without teeth, completely, yet his bones show no signs of starvation. He lived to an old age. This means someone chewed food for him, gave him soft meat, fed him. This is no accident. This is a system. On other skeletons, researchers found traces of healed fractures, dislocations, and damaged joints. Some injuries were so severe that the person lost the ability to hunt for a long time. But he was not abandoned. He returned to the group. He was not weak, but a needed member of the group. These bones are not just remains. They are evidence that Neanderthals had what makes us human: care for those nearby. Caring for an injured or sick person did not fall on one individual. For Neanderthals, the group was everything. If someone in the tribe was injured, he was not abandoned. Everyone who could helped him. First and foremost, the women. They often stayed in camp, knew how to prepare food, tend the fire, make shelter. They had experience caring for infants, so they knew how to care for adults as well. But not only women helped. Older men, those who no longer hunted, could assist, watch over the sick, bring water, keep the place by the fire in order. The group had no doctors, but it had a distribution of care. Everyone did what they could. Even adolescents could be useful. Fetch firewood, bring food, drive away animals, be the eyes and ears for adults. Care was communal. If it fell on one person, no one would cope. But when everyone helps, more survive. It is important to understand. Survival in such conditions is not about pity. It is about calculation. One injured hunter might, in a month, hunt again. One mother could raise 3 children. An old man might know the road to water. Therefore, they fought for them. Neanderthals knew how to share meat, fire, and warmth. But most important, they knew how to share responsibility for those who could not stand. And that made them human. Care for the weak among Neanderthals is not just kindness. It is a strategy. Every person in the group had value. A good hunter could bring meat. An old woman knew where berries were. A youth could grow into a strong warrior. The loss of even one was a blow to the entire group. If a wounded man were left behind, tomorrow they would hunt 3 instead of 4. If a woman after childbirth were not saved, there would be no next generation. If an elder were not helped, no one would know where to hide from winter. In small groups, survival depended on everyone, and so they saved even those who could not walk. They were not a burden, they were part of the team. And after a month or 2, they could stand beside their companions again. Moreover, care united the group. When one person feeds another, a bond forms between them. This is not just instinct. This is trust. Such groups lasted longer, acted more cohesively. They knew, if you fall, you will be lifted. Sapiens perhaps prevailed because they exchanged knowledge better. But Neanderthals survived because they held on to each other. This is not altruism. It is a calculated understanding. Together, there is more chance than alone. Care is a weapon, quiet but strong. For many years, Neanderthals were considered primitive savages, strong but stupid. It was said they died out because they were weak-minded. But archaeology tells a different story. Caring for the sick, helping the injured, tending the helpless, all of this shows that they had empathy. They understood that another person suffered, and they did something to make it easier. This is no longer just survival. This is humanity. It is what connects them with us. Animals have almost none of this. Even apes, rarely. But Neanderthals had it. Their care was not showy. There were no words, no rituals, only actions. Handing over food, laying down a hide, supporting, waiting. Sometimes for months. And that changes everything. It means they had not only bones, but feelings. Not only strength, but compassion. They could fear, suffer, miss, love. Perhaps not in the same way as we do, but certainly not like beasts. Neanderthals died out but left a trace. In genes, in tools, in us. But perhaps the most important thing they left is proof that care began long before civilization. And that is what made us human.